Now, many of you know that I'm planning on starting a webinar series, and I hope to start it. Let's go in here on Thursday, the 18th. And what we did for the last several webinars, and I haven't done one for a year because of, as you all know, I had multiple myeloma, but I'm feeling great now, so I'm going to start these again. Anyway, I want to start on the 18th, right after the market closes, and do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays, primarily right after the market closes. But also, I want to do several intraday sessions for those of you who can watch the market intraday, because with HGSI now, and especially if you're a Thinkorswim user, uh, it's totally changed everything as far as being able to prospect intraday essentially in real time. So I want to do several sessions with that, and even if you can't attend all of this, all of these webinar sessions are going to be recorded and archived. So I will plan on doing, I don't know, at least 8 sessions, maybe 10. I'm going to kind of leave it open-ended. I know what I want to talk about, getting into it, but uh, from my perspective, I know a lot about the software, but from the user perspective, there may be a lot of things that you want to talk about and learn that I'm not aware of, or just I don't think are that important, but they may be very important to you. So I want to leave it open-ended so we can get the most out of the webinar series. Now, uh, if you are an Insider Club member, this is at hgsinvestor.com. This is my domain right here. Um, if you're an Insider Club member, it's $4.95. If you've taken the previous webinars, it's only $100. I wanted to keep this inexpensive for those of you who have already committed and paid the $4.95. But you have to be a current Insider Club subscriber. If you've dropped out of the Insider Club, you're going to have to pay the $4.95 or join the Insider Club. Now, obviously, it makes a lot more sense to rejoin the Insider Club if you've dropped out and if you want to take the webinars. Now, if you're a non-subscriber to the Insider Club, it's $5.95, so it absolutely makes no sense to not join the Insider Club for $200 a year and get the $4.95 price. Now, these webinars are going to really teach you a lot about HGSI. I've been doing this for 15 years probably with HGSI, maybe longer. Well, probably longer now, probably 17, 18 years, and the program has changed dramatically, and I still am amazed every time I open the program and really start working with it, how versatile it is and how much you can do with HGSI. And I'm going to pass what I know along to you. We're going to spend a lot of time prospecting, of course, but there are so many other things that you should be aware of. And let me just go over a few things that I'm working on. And okay, I need to bring the quick pick view in. And these a lot of these things are modifications of what I've done in the past, but like I said, I keep learning and I keep refining. So I'm going to go to my top-down process views. You can see that I am making some new files which are not ready yet, of course, and it's webinar series 2018-01 for January end of day and intraday. Now I'm just going to click on the first view here. It's called Top Down Analysis Major Markets Plus. Now these Major Markets Plus files are in the Woodward and Brown user groups, or the W&B user groups. I'm going to continue to call them Woodward and Brown user groups because Ian and I use these groups for a long time. I've maintained them and added new things and so on, but there's really no need to change the name. So they're going to continue to be the W&B user groups for the foreseeable future. Now, what I've done here is I have been changing, deciding upon some different combos that I use. This is my VPA trend combo, and what this does when sorting on the raw combo, it gives me a picture immediately of where the strength and weakness is in this particular folder. Now I call this Major Markets Plus because it's the major markets, and in addition to the major markets, I have thrown in some ETFs just to give me a broader look at the market. You can see that with this combo, the VPA trend long, medium, and short, the stronger trends go to the top, and then the weak trends go to the bottom. You can see that the dollar has been weak, the UUP. This is an ETF, and the utilities have been weak, and the volatility index is down. It had a little pop up on the medium term, but it's going back down. Now this is the daily range of where the index is closed. So what do we learn from this? That the NASDAQ 100 was very strong over the past 5 days, and it closed at the right near the high end of its range. So very useful information. Now I'm doing a multiple sort here, and what I have is the raw combo rank and then by percentage price change 5 days. Now a while back Matt made all of these fields searchable, so if you want to find that quickly, you put in percent, the percent sign, and then PR, and that'll take you down here. And so what we have here, rather than just the VPA trends, well, let me do it normally. Let's just do a normal sort here. See how that changes to the Dow Jones Industrial Average? But we're not taking into account the past 5 days. Now, if I go back in here and search for percent PR, 5-day, now notice how this changes. Let's see where the Dow goes. It drops clear down to number 10 because over the 5-day period, it's up 1.8%, and the NASDAQ 100 is up 3.3%, followed by the oil fund, and then here's the NASDAQ composite, and so on down the list. So what this does is it gives us a really good feel for what's happening. Now, if you're doing this during the week, you could actually use since the beginning of the week, but I think 5 days is really the way to do it. So I know that all of these are in strong uptrends because the VPA trends are all green, but the most recent 5-day period has the NASDAQ 100 outperforming. Now as I go down this list, I'm going to go to my major markets ETF, and I'm going to go down to the next view. It's scorecard end of day ETFs, and I'm working on these still for the workshop. Like I said, I'll make these available to all Insider Club members, but if you really want to learn how to use HGSI, I suggest that you take the webinars. So what do we have here? We're getting a different look, aren't we? We see the materials, the energy sectors, and here's the NASDAQ QQQ on top, but the materials sector ETF has outperformed the Qs, or the NASDAQ 100. This is up 3.7% over 5 days. These are all in strong uptrends. And let's see. Here's the natural gas fund. Over the past 5 days, down 4.2%. And you can see that the red boxes for the trends are all down at the bottom. It's a very powerful and quick way to look at the markets. Now I'm going to go to the spider ETFs. These are all SPDR, and here we see materials and energy. Then I'm going to move on down to the broad market indexes. Now I'm going to go to a different view. I'm going to go to my number 3 view. These are the ways I'm arranging the views for the future. So what do we have here? We have top-down analysis with the VPA trend combo again, but this is using the indexes created by HGSI. What's on top? Energy and materials. Now these are blank over here because when we go top down, we're going to find stocks based upon the VPA trend combo with the stocks that are up the most in the past 5 days going to the top of the list. And you can see looking down this list that there were, well, this is a renewable energy, but there are several exploration and production, oil, gas, services, and so on. So this is just going top down, looking at where the strength is within each of these. So in this instance, the sector. Now if I go back to this, and this is just the beginning. We can take other views from this point, and these are things that I'll be doing at the webinars. I'll be applying other views to really narrow this list down so you don't have to go through all of the stocks. I'm going to go back here, but you can just go top down as long as you don't resort with any of the columns. These sorts will remain in place. So where's weakness? We keep seeing it down at the Dow Utilities. Now let's go on down. This is a focus view. Here's a social media index I put together several years ago. It may need to be updated since there have been some changes, but this is as it exists today. Now here's the NASDAQ 100. If I change to the index group here, look what's on top. JD.com up 9.6% over 5 days, up 4.5%. Yesterday, this has been coming up multiple times in the top 50 group inclusion report. If you look over here to the right, you can see the strongest stocks based upon these VPA trends. And then, of course, as you go down this column based upon the percentage price moves of the last 5 days, that's where that information is. So all of these have all of their trends are going up. And then here is NVIDIA. The long-term trend was down on NVIDIA, but NVIDIA had a really good week here. So let me just bring this stock up, and you can see that it moved up very sharply, but the long-term trend is still down based upon the VPA. Now, based upon my exponential moving averages, you can see that the 18 went above the 50, so the long-term trend is really back intact. Let me zoom in by going to alternate 1. You can see this better. NVIDIA has a great move because the group had a great move. These are all things that we're going to talk about at the upcoming webinar. Okay, now I'm going to go back, and you can just go down through sectors by stock, do the same thing. You can go down to the industry group level, do the same thing. Then you can just work your way down through these other ones. Now, here's the ETF World View. Now for this, I would go back to scorecard end of day. It's the same combo, so it really doesn't matter, but this way we get a look at what's happening in the world as far as strength and weakness. And you can see the Latin American 40 iShares are up 6.3% for the week, and you can see that the 50-day moving average volume is pretty decent on that, but the volume over here, look at the volume on the Brazil index. There's a lot of action in Brazil, and also down here at the Russell 2000 iShares. So this just gives you a comparative look at what's happening in the world. But this is, I'm going to spend quite a bit of time on top down because it's important, but I'm also going to show you tricks on getting to some of these stocks very quickly, and I'm going to do it both end of day and intraday. Anyway, that's it for this video. I just wanted you to be aware of what's going on with the add-on files, and I'm continuing to work on these other files for the webinars, and as I get a little bit closer, there will be more information. But consider attending. You'll find it very worthwhile, and I've got more and more good stuff, as Ian used to say, to share with you. Thank you for listening.